consider x plus y. So now this will be equal to x plus y to the power of 0, and then x plus y to the power of 1, x plus y to the power of 2, x plus y to the power of 3, x plus y to the power of 4. So let's, these expressions we have here, we are just trying to expand it to get the coefficients that forms Pascal's triangle. You understand? So we want to expand this coefficient first. We want to expand this coefficient first to form, we want to expand this expression first to get the coefficients that will form the Pascal's triangle. So now x plus y raised to the power of 0 is equal to 1. X plus y raised to the power of 0 is equal to 1. How about x? That is according to Pascal's triangle, when you multiply x plus y to the power of 0, you should have 1. You get so. Now the second one is x plus y to the power of 1. So now x plus 5 to the power of 1, you agree with me that this will give you 1x plus 1 times x times 1 will give you 1x plus y times 1. This will give you 1y. So this is this is the base of Pascal's triangle. Let me rewrite it. You have 1x plus 1y. This is the base of Pascal's triangle. So now you have it is important to note that Pascal's triangle, now every decrease in the power of x results to a corresponding increase in the power of y. Every increase in the power of x results to a corresponding decrease in the power of y, and vice versa. I don't know if you understand me. I mean, every increase in the power of this x will result to a corresponding decrease in the power of y, and every decrease in the power of x will result to a corresponding increase in the power of y. So now you have x plus y raised to the power of 2. Another thing you need to note, considering Pascal's triangle, every coefficient is the sum of the two closest numbers above. Before you get the coefficient below here, you must sum the two closest numbers above to get the the coefficient that is under this row. So now we're going to write it. So we have x plus y to the power of 2. Now, what will be our coefficients here? We have, what will be the closest number we have? We have something 0 plus 1. So the same thing here, we have 0 plus 1. So 0 plus 1 will result to 1x to the power of what? 2 to the power of 2. And then y is now raised to the power of 0. Y is raised to the power of 0, so it's not necessary to write y. So 1x to the power of 2. This is the first coefficient of x to the power of 2. Now next now, you have, remember I told you every corresponding decrease in the power of x results to a corresponding increase in the power of y. So now, you have the next coefficient will now be 1 plus 1, because this is the next closest numbers above to get this one. From the left to the right, so you have 1 plus 1 to get the corresponding coefficient under this row. So now we have 1 plus 1, you have 2. So 2x. Now x was raised to the power of 2 now. Remember about our rule, we said every corresponding decrease in the power of x results to a corresponding increase in the power of y. So now x was raised to the power of 2. Now in the next row, x is now raised to the power of 1. There's a decrease. This is the order you should follow. So now x is now raised to the power of 1. So how about our y? Our y was raised to the power of 0. That was why y raised to the power of 0 was 0. And that was why we only had 1x squared here. So now y is raised to the power of 1. So it means what we have here will be equal to 2xy. What we have here now will be equal to 2xy, because y is now raised to the power of 1. So now 2xy plus, what will be the next? So now, what are we going to add? We have to get the next row now we have to add 1 plus the two numbers, the two closest numbers above here on this column. To get this row is 1 plus 0 because there is nothing on the other hand. You have 1 at the left hand side, then we have nothing at the right hand side. So 1 plus 0 is the same thing as 1. And then what is now the power of x? X is now raised to the power of 0. There is a decrease now in the power of x t. So x is now raised to the power of 0. So x raised to the power of 0 is the same thing as 0. So this 2x now becomes 0. So now you have 1 plus 0 to get the corresponding coefficient, which is 1 plus 0, we have 1. So now y is now raised to the power of 2. Why? Because we said every corresponding decrease in the power of x results to a corresponding increase in the power of y. So now, because x here was raised to the power of 1, y was raised to the power of 1. Now x has dropped to the power of 0, y will increase to the power of 2. So now we now have something like 1y to the power of 2. And that is our next row on Pascal's triangle. Remember I told you I'm expanding these equations to form Pascal's triangle. I'm going to show you a short form to getting your Pascal's triangle without expanding expressions like this. But let's just take it's a process, okay? So now the next, when you come to the next row now, you have x plus y raised to the power of 3. Now the first thing should come that will come to your mind is the coefficient. Now how do you get the coefficient? The sum of the left hand side plus the right hand side, the closest left hand number on the left hand side and the right hand side, and you have 0 on your left hand side plus 1. So 0 plus 1 will give you 1. So now 0 plus 1 will give you 1. Now the power of x here is 3. So because the power of x here is 3, this is our starting point, y will be 0. Yeah, so now we have 1x, the coefficient is 1, and then x raised to the power of 3. Y is raised to the power of 0, so we are not going to include y. Plus, the next coefficient is, what is the next coefficient? The left hand side plus the right hand side, which we have 1 plus 2. On that, so now, when we have 1 plus 2, we have, this is 3. So the next coefficient is 3. The next coefficient is 3. X. 3x. Now x will be raised to the power of 4. Remember, corresponding decrease in the power of x resulting to a corresponding increase in the power of y. So we have 3x. Now we have 3x. We have 3x because of the 1 on the left hand side plus the 2 here, and then we have our next coefficient to be 3x. Now x here is raised to the power of 4 because we had x here raised x here was raised to the power of 3. Here our x has decreased by 1 power, and then it is now raised to the power of 2. How about our y? There is a corresponding increase in the power of y, so we have y to be equal to, since x decreased by 1 power, there is a corresponding increase in the power of y, so the 1 will now be raised by y. So now we have y raised to the power of 1. So this whole expression becomes 3x squared y. Now the next one plus. You have, how do you get the next coefficient? You add the number, the closest numbers on top, and we have 2 plus 1 to give you, and that will give you the next coefficient. 2 plus 1 is 3. How about our x now? Our x was raised to the power of 2. Now there's a decrease by 1. So now we now have something like 3x. Because x is now raised to the power of 1, because raised to the power of 2, there's a decrease now by 1. There's a decrease in power by 1. So we now have 3x, 3 raised to the power of 1, and 3 raised to the power of 1 is 3x. So now, how about our y? Our y was raised to the power of 1. But now, since we said every corresponding decrease in the power of x results to a corresponding increase in the power of y, we now have our y to be raised to the power of 2 now. So now y is now raised to the power of 2. Y is now raised to the power of 2. So the next coefficient now we have the left hand side plus the right hand side. And the left hand side is 1. We have 1 coefficient on the left hand side. The right hand side is 0. It's empty. So now we have our 1. So it means 1 plus 1 will give you 1. So that is our next coefficient, 1. And then we have x, 3x. Now x was raised to the power of 1. Now there's a decrease by 1 power. So now it means x now will be raised to the power of 0, and 3x raised to the power of 0 is the same thing as 0. So now we have what is left here is y. but because there's a corresponding increase in the power of y, we will now have this whole expression to be y raised to the power of 3. And that is how we expand this expression. So now when you arrange this, when you arrange the coefficients, you have 1, and then you have 1 again, and then you have 1, 2, 1, you have 1, 2, 1, and then you have 1, 3, 3, 1, 1, 3, 3, 1, and then you have 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. Have 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. So you see that this is forming a triangle. This forms our PASCAL'S triangle. This forms our PASCAL'S triangle. So thank you all for watching. I remain your JT's Uganda Tanya. So I advise you all to practice this on your own, and if there's any question, please drop it in the comment section. We'll do justice to it.